This One Up podcast is brought to you by the Doritos Brand Unlock Xbox contest.
Ready to go?
We are ready.
Okay. Oh no. Okay. Alright. Alright, don't worry, we'll take care of it. So, okay, Ryan's still sick. We gotta figure out what to do with the show. I'm gonna go ask Mark what we need to do. Ryan, we got a problem.
What's up?
Ryan is still sick. I mean, I know how to get the show up and everything, but I mean, he always makes sure everything's okay, and I don't even know, like, for the narrative, I don't.
Yeah. So, okay. What's on the show this week? What's on the show?
Okay. We've got Contra DS. We've got Phantom Hourglass.
Okay.
And then we've got Geometry Wars Wii. It's all Nintendo.
Right. Yeah. So it's all Nintendo stuff. So we'll have Reggie.
Okay.
And we'll have this Reggie mask. Like the Pikmin maybe are like invading. Fuck. Let's say. So the Pikmin are invading and they come from outer space, like on Geometry Wars ships.
Okay.
And then
all right.
take those, or maybe they're like attacking Minnie or something like that.
No.
And
although
then
I always wanted to do like a fashion show with Minnie, maybe like with her in various outfits. We could do some cool music.
Oh shit, this is perfect too. We have this this Wind Waker link.
Okay.
Whoa. So we could like use him like a little puppet, like he's walking around like, hey guys, what do you think of my new game?
I like that.
Touchscreen controls.
Or just have Reggie talking to him.
How sick is Ryan exactly?
Yeah. He's really sick. But he'll be okay.
Fuck, we're screwed.
Yeah.
Mark, are you playing Twilight, or what the hell is it called? Phantom Hourglass? That new Zelda game from Nintendo?
I am playing the new Zelda. This game uses the DS completely. Like, not only... I mean, first of all, it uses the graphics. Like, I think you're seeing graphics on here like few other games have actually shown.
They're patterned after Wind Waker, and clearly they're not as nice as Wind Waker's graphics. Like, Link's face is basically a football with a decal on it. But for DS graphics, they look really good.
Yeah, it's
like
got
the cell shading style translates really well, and it does this kind of cool effect that I haven't seen before, where there'll be like clouds of smoke or something over a character, but you can still see the outline of their body. Like they kind of go transparent or can't be seen behind the cloud or whatever, but you still kind of see the outline. It gives it this kind of unique look that I haven't seen before.
Yeah, I mean, and it's got a lot of the little touches too. Like the animation is really good. Like Link turns his head to look at people and stuff like that.
It has all the animation and like it has all the personality of Wind Waker. I mean, this is probably the wackiest Zelda game I've played, aside from like the CDI games, which were wacky in a different way. This is good wacky.
Right.
This is like wacky with personality.
Yeah,
like,
there's those jokes with Link finding items.
He finds the item, except there's no item, so he's just like looking up in horror at his empty hand, and then he gets shaken into dizziness by the guy, so he holds up, and you get the fanfare. It's all dizzy.
Yeah, it's kind of having fun with the little Zelda things, and the touchscreen controls. Like, so far I've been loving it. It took me a little while to get used to the roll. Is the one thing you
That's
kind
the
of
one thing. You have to like make a quick stroke and then another quick stroke at the edge of the screen.
Right.
And it can be kind of tough sometimes when you need it in a pinch.
But I haven't really needed it in a pinch yet. So far I've just been loving, like, you just point to where you want to go, move it to the edge of the screen to go faster, tap on something to attack it, circle for the spin attack, but the best part is the fucking boomerang. Going, like, drawing your little path, like, okay, I'm gonna go, and you can look off of the screen where you're not even, and like bring the boomerang around, hit a switch.
Kind of a good way to see things that are a little beyond your normal range of vision. Even though it's a different mechanic than we're used to, it still uses the lock-on ability. So if you lock on to a bat or whatever, and the bat moves while the boomerang starts to fly, it's going to veer a little bit out of its way, but still hit the enemy, and then go on its normal path.
And it gives you that same dong, 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 like when you're choosing multiple targets, and lets you know, like, yeah, you chose a torch, you can take the flame from that torch to another torch. And I mean, so far it's been pretty standard Zelda-style puzzles. Like, but I'm still, those are my favorite. Like, I'm enjoying it. It's
well,
like,
and just the new way to approach them gives them kind of a sense of freshness that you wouldn't get if this were just, Minish Cap Part 2 or whatever.
Right.
I really feel like, I don't know, the new interface, it gives you a classic top-down style Zelda, but you have a full 360 degrees range of motion, which you don't usually get in this kind of game. It's usually, you're constrained to 8 directions,
right.
cardinal directions, diagonals. But that's not the case this time, so it feels really fluid.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm moving around really, really freely, and I think I might like this control better than any other approach to Zelda that I've played before.
The one part that feels a little weird to me is when you get on a boat, you kind of draw your path to where you want to go, and then you don't have control over your boat. I mean, you can stop it and draw a new path, but you don't have control over your boat. Instead, you can, like, tap and launch cannonballs and stuff. But I'll see stuff on the side, and I'm like, oh, I kind of want to steer over there or see what that is. It feels a little weird to me.
Even though you don't control yourself when you're on the boat, it still feels more involved than Wind Waker's sailing, because you're not just, like, sitting there going across vast expanses. The ocean's a lot tighter. There's more stuff going on, and there are a lot of hazards. So all of a sudden, like, a net will pop up, and you'll have to jump over the Octoroks, or there's things you have to shoot with your cannon.
Yeah, you're right. It's like, okay, you're here now, you're gonna go right here. It's like pretty clear. It's not just like, okay, sail out into the ocean and, like, find whatever, the next thing.
Yeah, I really feel like they took criticisms of Wind Waker and the sailing part of Wind Waker to heart and said, how can we keep the same concept and the same sense of, like, vast exploration and let's go on an adventure without also compromising the gameplay? And I feel like they've come up with a pretty good compromise.
Plus, you can customize your boat, like, in all of these different ways, and your boat has, like, 8 or 10 different parts that can be upgraded in all these different ways, which is, like, that in itself is really cool, like, added depth. What do you think of the Phantom Hourglass mechanic?
It's kind of weird because it's one of these games where it suddenly adds a timed element. You get the Phantom Hourglass, and there are the cursed zones and dungeons, and as long as you have the Phantom Hourglass, those won't hurt you. So you start out with, like, only 10 minutes to solve the first dungeon that has the hourglass.
Right.
And you get more time on your hourglass as you complete each dungeon. But it does kind of, like, force you to rush through. And I think that they're kind of doing this because it's a portable game. Like, the idea is that the dungeons shouldn't be vast and take hours to beat. They should be kind of quick, bite-sized dungeons, and this is sort of a way to encourage you to rush through and really solve them in a hurry.
I don't really like having the clock ticking down. It doesn't tick down when you're in those safety zones, which is nice. You can at least take a breather and think it through. And I do love, like, the map mechanic, like being able to pull down the map.
Oh yeah.
Seeing the map.
Like, when the DS first came out, people were like, "What's a double screen good for? It's just a map that you have there. Haha, that's stupid. It's like the map system." But guess what?
Yeah.
That's really good for a game like Zelda. And when you can actually draw and make notes on the maps in the game,
it's a simple thing, but it feels really cool when you, like,
when
execute.
You beat a boss, you can be, like, owned.
Yeah, so far it's been keeping it really fresh. I mean, it's been introducing all these, like, staple Zelda things pretty quick, one after the other. You have the bomb plants and the push and pull block puzzles and the different switches, and then like we were talking about, the new safety zone sort of gameplay mechanic. And multiplayer, like, I got a real kick out of, like, so far. Who knows, like, how long it's gonna last? But there's a whole bunch of maps. There's like 8 maps.
Well, it's basically Pac-Man versus, except not frustrating and annoying, and you don't have to worry like deal with all these different systems. I really feel like they just, Miyamoto or whoever said, okay, I came up with this cool idea for Pac-Man. Let's use it on a Nintendo property instead.
Right.
So one player is Link and the other player is the guards, and then it switches back and forth. So
And I like how you have direct control over Link, but the guards you don't. You're drawing paths as when you're the guards, and also there's different power-ups. There's pluses and minuses. When you pick up Triforce, you run a little slower, but you can see where the enemies are. And vice versa. You can see Link when he has the Triforce. There's a lot of little balance things they did.
It's a nice. I like that the power ups also work for the guards. Like there was one time I caught up with you as guards because I found the little winged boots. So suddenly my guards were actually moving faster than you.
Right.
And it kind of caught you off guard. And little things like that are kind of a surprise, and they're cool, and they add a little bit of variety. I like the fact that the multiplayer is very much, it feels like it belongs in Phantom Hourglass. It's not just like they said, okay, let's just add on a Four Swords element to it. It's not Four Swords, it's something completely different, and it's a really cool take on something unique to this game, and it really fits in, so I think it's a nice idea.
You're looking for some people.
We're all looking for that special someone. I need to know what happened. Give me that. For 10 years, I've been searching. I need this for you. I guarantee that you will find this man.
Please, no more killing.
Don't do anything stupid, cousin.
We have to find him.
Fine, you got it. You want my word? You got my word.
I'm the one who survived.
Get this done, and we'll talk.
Damn it, shut up already. And that's where baby Pikmin come from. No, not without a dick you won't. So what do you guys want to do today? Geometry Wars? For the Wii? Yeah, it's funny you should mention it. I think we've got it here today. Well, okay, let's go check it out.
A capital idea, Mr. MacDonald.
Ah.
I am a British Pikmin.
You can come too, Mr. Peepers. Come on, guys, let's go.
I don't know why Jim Henson thought that was so hard.
They start off talking about Geometry Wars Galaxies, how it comes from Geometry Wars. The same people are involved, not necessarily developing it, and it's a very simple game. Like Geometry Wars is a simple game, but actually, like, there's a lot to it. Like, I took all of these notes and ended up having all of these notes. Co-op play, the different options, the new enemies, your little drone, like the different modes, however many planets, like downloading DS. Like, there's actually a lot to talk about.
An entire galaxy of new information.
Galaxy of fun. I was really glad, like, it still looks like Geometry Wars.
Does.
Like, it's not Bizarre making it, but the ideas came from them. They have approval. They're working with Bizarre Creations a lot, but it's Kuju that's actually coding it. So, like, all the enemies, even the new one, and the stages, the sound effects are there. Like, there's so many Geometry Wars clones out right now that
Oh yeah.
I still get though, like, a feeling of like oh yeah. There's kind of these different archetypes, like different styles. They showed us only 3 of those. One was like enemy swarm or something like that. It was just kind of different shaped
Storm, I think.
enemy storm.
Yeah.
The enemy
What
storm
you
was more
described.
like asteroids, right? That was
Yeah.
the one where there were like big enemies, and they were saying they use all the same old enemies, and then they also add new ones. But even the old enemies, they use them in different ways.
Right.
Kind
It was a true geometry war because that asteroids mode, you'd have these shapes just kind of floating, and if you didn't shoot them, they weren't going to do anything.
Right.
But then as soon as you shot them, they like exploded into different pods of enemies.
And there's
So-
even like asteroids. There's like a UFO that flies
Right.
by for extra
Right.
bonus
and then
points.
they had these new ones, these mutators that would come in, and they look all like a freaking out star,
Yeah.
like a scribble star. And then they touch other bad guys. They appear in like groups, he said. And they touch other bad guys and turn them into these little biohazard symbols. And they mutated things.
And then they had generators that looked like gravity wells, except just like spit out
They're just
enemies
spitting
and
things.
stuff
And
like
when
that.
they're red, they're spitting out enemies. You can't kill them.
Yeah.
But then they turn blue and you kill them. And then the gravity well one.
The gravity well one, where they also called the washing machine. Where, like shit flew around in this, like a circle, and sometimes even other gravity wells would show up and things got crazy. The grid goes totally nuts. Like,
And they even mentioned that one, there'll be other modes of that one where there's more than one central.
right, yeah, it said there was even like a racetrack. Like there were so many gravity wells, like things would go around like that. I mean, that stuff was just crazy. Like that was the stuff people got killed like super fast.
People.
Okay, well, all of us, even them got
I
totally,
did especially for
totally killed on it. It was just neoclassical. It was basically like Geometry Wars. And in all of the multiplayer stuff, there's so much. Like co-op, as far as I'm concerned, like co-op, that is it. That's what I really wanted. That was probably the most fun that I had. And co-op is just retro evolved, except just the 2 of you at once. And
See, that's what kind of disappointed me a little bit. It's just all the multiplayer stuff is all retro evolved,
Right. Yeah, I mean, it might have been cool to have it in both modes, but as like kind of all I expected from the next Geometry Wars was basically, given what happened from the first one to the second one, all I really expected was like few new enemies and co-op.
For $50, that's all you expected?
Well, that's the other
Yeah,
thing.
that's the
We didn't
thing.
talk about that. I didn't expect for it to be $50.
Or maybe 40, but it's in that range.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But I mean, you also get like, you can download it, to your DS. You can send it from the Wii and download a version of it for your DS that stays on as long as you play it. There's some kind of unlock if you have both games.
You unlock more.
Yeah, we haven't seen
solar
that in a while.
systems.
Yeah.
It's weird because they say it's not something that you play against each other with. It's just you get extra content.
Right.
The drone
Right,
is
right,
totally
yeah.
new.
Right.
Like just there to help you. Like
Yeah.
they're
Or like
either
the
gonna
option,
defend-
and Gradius, or an R-Type. It's just like another little thing.
little dude to
Yeah,
help
that
you
flies
out.
around.
And you get to power him up, and there's a little bit of customization there, tiny little bit of customization. But
you
it's kind of
upgrade
interesting.
him
Yeah,
more than customize him.
And-
eventually he gets awesome.
yeah.
But in stages, they were saying you would want to change him around. You can have him set to different AI patterns. One there, he fires in the opposite direction as you. One, he's just an extra shooting thing. And then the other thing, they pick up geomes, like the game's money system. Now all the enemies like leave behind little bits of money. Like, I like that they're adding this stuff, and especially like the depth and the like. It's kind of like a single player little campaign where each planet is a little Geometry Wars game. So you're getting a shitload more content. But one thing that they are going to have to deal with is like the geomes are little bits of things flying around, and the your option is another thing flying around that's coming at you. And like when you're in Geometry Wars, like every little thing you're like
Especially
trying to
at the
avoid
higher
it.
levels, like
yeah.
your brain, you're almost like you can't get distracted, like talking to somebody while they're playing, like, if your mind begins to wander and there's so many things, granted this is pre-alpha, right? I didn't like how it feels right now. I
Yeah.
did not feel that same sense of control that I feel when I'm playing 360, where it's like when I mess up, like generally, unless something spawns right on me because I'm on the wall.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
my fault.
they talked about it, and they said, people who picked it up who had not played the 360 version and never played Geometry Wars before, like their scoring rate curved about the same as people playing the 360 version for the first time. But those of us who are used to the 360 version, like trying to play with the Wii control, you basically control with the nunchuck remote. You control your ship, and then with the actual Wiimote, you control where you're shooting, only you kind of, there's a little laser pointer to show where you're pointing, and you kind of just point where you want to shoot, but I had the same problem, like switching back and forth, like, I mean, it's even just pretty relatively low play, like switching back and forth and shooting different directions quickly was a kind of a problem. It was much easier when you were gradually moving it like this, but in high-level Geometry Wars, you have to like, you know, even like wiggle like this to shoot slightly off, and you have to be doing tons of quick movements in every direction really fast. And I'm just like, I don't even know, I'm sure you'll get better with it as you play more, but I don't know if that would ever be possible with that control scheme. But they did say, well, they didn't say it, but they hinted that it might support GameCube controller, or hopefully the classic controller, which like that's all I want. Like, just support the classic controller.
Yeah, it seems like that would almost be the default. Like, they were pitching this mode as, you know, what we expect everybody to use, but realistically,
they are gonna include other control schemes, like they've already said it. So I don't think like that's going to be a problem. And like in this version, also there was like a little. I mean, it was pre-alpha, but there was like a little bit of slowdown, but they say that's going to be fine.
What I was impressed with was even with a little bit of slowdown, like the DS version, I thought looked fantastic.
The DS is really good, and actually using the touchscreen controls, like you can play with the buttons and mash them, and that kind of sucked.
That's where the stylus just made all the sense in the world.
The stylus like totally works, and you can either have it on, you know, you can either use the bottom screen as your main screen or the top screen, but even using the top screen, just doing the stylus, and then you got your shoulder button for the super bomb. Like, it's so intuitive, you pick it up perfectly quickly. It's just like playing the 360 version. It is interesting that they have leaderboards online. It's another, like, there's a lot of little features and options that the game has. It sucks that there aren't any online modes, but it's just too much. It's just impossible, apparently. But you can play like local with the DS wirelessly, which is cool. And like they said, it was like a small miracle that they were able to get that working.
On Wi-Fi, on DS, it's a minor miracle.
So is that why that you don't do it as technical?
Because, okay, so Geometry Wars is a very fast action, very frame rate, very intensive game. Any loss causes problems.
Right.
So if you add the internet to that, you're going to have not a very good game. So, you know, it's very simple graphics, very pretty looking, but it's got a hell of a lot going on. So to actually move all that information as a packet across the world and back again, and think it's going to be there again, that's quite tough.
Yeah.
That's why I say the DS is a minor miracle, but it does what it does. So.
But like that's something I didn't expect. And you know, you can share off of a DS with a friend who doesn't have the cartridge. You can have.
I think the concept of having Retro Evolved as like a shareable game is the perfect like aspect of this.
I think we really have to wait to see the final product and see what exactly the final price point is before we judge. But I agree, like you've just been brought up thinking of Geometry Wars as this extra little game and a racing game or a downloadable game. Thinking of it as a full price thing. I'm not used to thinking of it that way. But that said, like, I'm basically being a Geometry Wars fan. I'm ready to buy it. I mean, maybe this is the wrong attitude to have. I'm ready to buy it at a full price, and I know already, like, I have to buy the Wii and the DS. They're gonna come out on the same day this fall, and I'm already like, okay, but I'm kind of sold.
About Black Viper being the villain here because we've already beaten him.
I don't
Operation
like Red
C.
Viper, Black Viper. It's all just based on
Red Falcon. Black
it's all
Viper.
just like aliens fan fiction, dude. Who cares about the plot of Contra? You're shooting things. You're shooting aliens. Like the plot is inconsequential. Like, I mean, you
guys talking about Contra?
We
We're
are.
talking
You're
about
like
the very important.
you're the
story
Contra
elements of
nerd.
Contra.
Dude.
Yes.
The original Contra nerd.
Yeah. So what are we talking about?
Contra 4, dude. It's a DS. The Contra like lineage, I mean, it started out simply enough, but over the years they've done offshoots, spin-offs, like See the Contra Adventure.
Oh, well, I ignore those. I kind of ignore everything after Contra 3, and that's exactly the perspective they're taking with this game, which is why it's going to be good.
But like the back to basics approach, I really like it. And like, you know, the producer mentions New Super Mario Brothers, and that's kind of what this reminds me of, because it is almost like a Contra game that came out in like 1993 that you never played.
Me and Simon are big fans. He really wanted to do a Contra game. I really wanted to do a Contra game. You know, we looked at what has it been done? How didn't it succeed? How did it succeed? what was good. And we looked at games like New Super Mario Brothers, took the design aesthetic from the very old games. You couldn't fly in New Super Mario Brothers. It wasn't Super Mario Brothers 3, 2. It was Super Mario Brothers reimagined. We saw how successful that was, and so we really wanted to take Contra to that place. And we thought, with the series history, how well it sold, opinions on games, what gamers seem to want, that might be the right step for Contra. It hasn't been the same as it was in the beginning. There's Contra, Super C, Contra 3. Forget everything that came after that and make the next game after Contra 3.
I did feel weird that they were ignoring Contra Hardcore and ignoring like Shattered Soldier. Those were good games.
So Contra 4. It's not impossibly difficult, so that's a little different than Hardcore.
But it is as hard as like Contra or Super C. In fact, Contra 4, like having played it now, it really reminds me the most of Contra and Super C.
Yeah, like the build we were given had 99 lives, but you burn through this pretty fast.
I used 20.
Yeah.
I mean, they said they were totally still like balancing it and everything like that.
But
Plus,
I mean,
it has the easy.
Once you just stop blundering through and you actually kind of take a measured approach, you can get pretty far in just a few lives. But then you'll like come across an enemy situation where all of a sudden you burn through a bunch of lives all at once.
I was fighting the big fish boss, for instance, and I was like, oh shit, what do I do or whatever. The second you told me, it was like he became totally easy.
Shoot his eye. It's not hard. I will say the graphics, although they get the job done, they're not what I would deem impressive.
Oh, I don't know about that. I thought they looked really nice.
I think it looks worse than the Castlevania games. Just like tangibly, like.
Well, it doesn't have 3D effects and stuff. They're going for just a straight sprite on bitmap approach.
But it doesn't look like something that couldn't have been done on GBA. I mean, besides the 2 screens.
I'd say the animation quality is better than GBA. I mean, they're
really
really not pushing the
really
hardware.
good animation.
They're not pushing the hardware, but I'm okay with that.
Like, I'm okay with it.
It
plays fine.
The really important thing is the gameplay, and I feel like the Contra series has lost its way in part because they've tried to say, well, we need to bring this up to modern standards. We need to add 3D. We need to add like super shiny graphics. This strips everything down to like a Super NES level of polish, and that's fine because it has really solid gameplay. Like it plays like a cross between Super C and Contra 3, and that's awesome.
There's also a lot more platforming and stuff like that, especially because of the 2 screens.
I'm really happy the verticality is back because Shattered Soldier had none. Like it was a flat plane.
The series really lost my interest once it stopped being something that you just could run through and enjoy. When it had to be like memorizing all the little set piece, all the little events, that just wasn't as fun to me. No snowboarding in this game. They promised.
There's vehicles like Contra 3 and stuff.
It feels like it's like a bunch of guys who like totally are into Contra and they like made their ultimate game.
It's like a love letter to Contra.
It's like they said, let's make the best fan game ever, and Konami said, that's so good we want to make it a real game.
I think that the co-op, when you have a guy on the top screen and a guy on the bottom screen, I think that's when the game is really good.
That's gonna be cool.
Great.
Yeah. I mean, it's something that you also have to get used to too. Like even just when the weapons come by on the top screen, it's like you might be focusing on the bottom and you're just like, oh shit, there's a weapon up there.
That's one thing that does kind of bother me about the double screens is that you almost always miss the weapon things the first time they fly over, so you have to shoot them at an angle. But if you're on the bottom screen, you can't shoot it at an angle because your angle like goes off the screens. That's a little bit annoying.
What do you think about the grappling hook?
The grappling hook is a pretty cool element. It's not. I was kind of hoping for something that was a little more Bionic Commando.
It's more just
it's really
utility
just like
to get to the top screen really quickly.
Yeah, it's basically a way to jump from one screen to the other, and it's good in that effect. They showed the waterfall level, which is like taken straight out of Contra, but you have the grappling hook, and it's going up vertically on the 2 screens, and they were moving back and forth between the 2 screens.
That was really cool to see because it was like a whole new like kind of take on the whole waterfall level. So
and I can already tell based on the 2 levels we had that the bosses are just going to be sick and huge and impressive, and I hope they just go absolutely nuts with the bosses.
Yeah, I mean they're clearly making homages to the original Contra games. So you have like the wall with the circular thing at the bottom, the 2 guns, and the guy shooting on top.
It has a twist.
But you blow that up and then it rises up again, and there's like this guy shooting above you, and you've got to grapple onto the helicopter to destroy
and
it.
it's all about patterns too. You realize like dodging all these bullets. It's very old school, very tough. I do wonder if casual gamers who love DS so much, they're gonna pick this up and die instantly and be like, what is with this game? It's so hard.
I don't think the game is being made with them in mind.
They're throwing in the easy mode because they really want to make it accessible this time. It's like, but you won't be able to play the full game on easy.
But it's not like this is a game that they're dumbing down to hit the general audience. They're really targeting this toward people who love the old Contra games, like us, and it's really satisfying.
It came from out of nowhere. I went from like very trepidatious about this knowing the developer to when I see it, it's exciting.
I really feel once you play this game, you're gonna be like, oh, this is Contra. This is what I've been wanting for the past 12, 13 years.
Exactly.
I was so pleasantly surprised.
I was saying I hope that it's a hit and that Konami does with other franchises. There's a lot of like stagnant 80s action series that should be brought back in this one.
Totally, absolutely. Bayou Billy?
Bayou Billy?
Maybe not.